Good morning, NEMLA. Happy 50th anniversary. I'm so pleased to see so many of you here with us this morning to celebrate. I have people I would like to thank. The Boston Athenaeum has been wonderful to work with. They are being very gracious to host us. I would like to thank Paula Matthews, because without Paula, we would not be meeting here. She has retired and she is not able to be with us today, unfortunately. But I also want to thank Catherine McGrath and Victoria O'Malley and all the other staff that have been so helpful to us. We do have some first-time attendees, I understand. If they could stand up, please. Yay, Ruth Ann! Just one other quick thing. We'd like to take pictures and would like to do that outside, and we're thinking right before we go off to lunch, we'd like to do that, so don't run away too fast. I would like to introduce Jim Reed Cunningham. He is the Deputy Director here of the Boston Athenaeum, and he has some welcoming remarks for us.
Good morning. I want to welcome you to the Boston Athenaeum. We're very pleased your group could come and meet us here today. I thought for the benefit of those of you who may not have been here before, I'd say a few things about the history of the Athenaeum. We were founded in 1807 as a private membership library, and originally it was just a single room, and it had primarily newspapers and magazines, a lot of European and English periodicals. It was meant to solve the problem of the high cost of foreign cereals, which is a problem that has it is a problem that has not exactly gone away over 200 years. We very quickly, though, began to collect books and pamphlets and paintings and sculpture and archaeological objects. The intention quite quickly became to create a cultural center where someone could go and research anything they were interested in, any topic. And so we had very broad Catholic collecting in the early years. Basically, we collected anything we could get. Needless to say, the one room kind of was too small after a while. Eventually, in the 1820s, one of the members donated his house, and we built onto the house a lecture hall and began a lecture series where we have prominent authors come and lecture or read from their works. And this is a series that we continue down to today. We also, at that time, built an art gallery, and the Boston Athenaeum was the first organization in Boston to have public art exhibitions. We had one annual exhibition. It cost 5 cents to get in, which at the time was not a negligible amount of money. At the end of the exhibitions, we would take the money that we had raised and buy more art with it. The building where you sit was constructed in 1849 and was purpose-built to be the Athenaeum. Originally, the room where you're sitting was originally a sculpture gallery. It was not a lecture hall. In the 1870s, the Athenaeum was one of the organizations that put together the Museum of Fine Arts in Boston, and much of our art collection at that point went to the Museum of Fine Arts. Since then, we've been largely a library, although as you'll see, in this room and with your tour of the building, that we continue to have a major collection of primarily 19th century American paintings and sculpture on display throughout the building. But we are largely a library, and our main collecting interests they have narrowed from the universalism of the first few years, which became impossible over the course of the 19th century. We now focus primarily on history, art history, and literature of North America, Britain, and Western Europe. We're particularly strong in American history, which makes a lot of sense because we were founded within 30 years of the Revolution. We have very extensive collections in the colonial era, the Revolution, the Civil War. We have one of the biggest collections in the world of books printed in the Confederacy during the Civil War. We actually, in 1865, sent librarians down south with carpet bags full of cash to buy books on the assumption that they were not only going to be rare, but that they're going to be very important primary documents in the history of our country. The library actually has continued to collect in all of these areas, and we have an exhibition. I don't know if you're going to have time to go into our exhibition gallery, but we just opened a show of paintings and sculpture acquired in the 21st century, because it's still a living collection. This is the beginning of a series of exhibitions in rare books, maps, manuscripts, prints, photographs, showcasing what we've done in the 20th century to enhance the collections at the Athenaeum. I actually wanted to mention that Paula Matthews really is unhappy that she could not be here for this. She really obviously kind of knows many of you, loves this group, and she wanted me to extend to you her regrets there. Paula came here 5 years ago as chief librarian and was quickly promoted to director. I was here for 5 years and really transformed the library into a much more outward-looking place. We now have exhibitions that are open to the public, we have lectures that are open to the public, and we have extensive digital collections online of special collections materials. We kind of came to digitization very late, and although we're still mainly focused on primary historical materials, we now have a very robust digitization program that is very unique in that the digitization program does not drive what the rest of us do. We have a program where we're focused as much on cataloging and conservation as on digitization. And this afternoon you'll get a chance to see, or some of you will, at the conservation lab and the digital lab. And a lot of this is really Paula's doing. It was a great achievement. We came late to digitization, but we've made great strides in the last few years. And we remain a private membership library. But it's always been more than just a repository for great things. It's really a social place. People come here to meet people who have similar interests. And that's why we're very glad that you could come here today. Thank you so much.
Good morning. My name is Carrie Masteller. On behalf of the program committee, I'd like to welcome you to our 50th anniversary meeting. We've had a lot of fun putting this together, and I hope you too enjoy the program that we're going to see today. I'd like to thank, in addition to all of the staff of the Athenaeum, Victoria O'Malley and Catherine McGrath in particular, as well as the members of NEMLA's programming committee, Pat Fiskin, Alana Revkin, and Maria Jane Loizu. Many of you may wish to know throughout the day where you'll find the bathrooms. They are out these double glass doors and down the short hallway on the left. I've also been asked to remind you to please turn off cell phone ringers and refrain from making calls while you're in the library. Thank you. When we were looking through the materials in NEMLA's archives, one of the things that we came across were the minutes from our very first meeting. And I'd like to bring up Pat Fiskin to read those for you now. A dramatic reading, yes.
Can you hear me? Okay. Music Library Association, New England Chapter. A meeting of the Boston-Cambridge chapter of the Music Library Association was held at the Jewett Arts Center, Wellesley College, Wellesley, Massachusetts, on October 19th, 1963. The meeting was called to order at 2:10 p.m. by Miss Therese Mueller, music librarian, Wellesley College. 28 persons attended. Mr. Hubert W. Lamb, chairman, music department, Wellesley College, welcomed the group to the campus. Miss Mueller reviewed briefly the history of the Boston-Cambridge chapter, which ceased meeting in 1956, but never officially disbanded. The chapter never had any bylaws or constitution. Ms. Mueller asked and received permission of the group to act as chairman for the meeting. She announced that Mrs. Doreen Smith, assistant librarian and cataloger, Belmont Public Library, Belmont, Massachusetts, had been asked to serve as secretary. A motion was made, seconded, and carried to change the name of the group from the Boston-Cambridge chapter to the New England chapter of the Music Library Association. Ms. Mueller would then introduce Dr. William J. Weichlein of the University of Michigan, the vice president and president-elect of the Music Library Association, who spoke on the role of the local chapter in MLA. Dr. Weichlein discussed the aims and functions of a local or regional chapter. In connection with the programming of meetings, Dr. Weichlein mentioned various projects accomplished or being carried out by other chapters. The relationship of the chapter to the national organization was also discussed. A copy of the talk is appended to these minutes. Mr. Joseph Boonen, Secretary of the New York chapter, discussed some of the indexing and bibliographic projects of that chapter. Mr. Brooks Shepard, librarian, music library, Yale University, mentioned that the national organization might be able to help finance the publication of some of the New York chapter's work. Mr. Ralph Satz, business manager of the MLA, spoke of the relationship of the business office to the chapters. One function was to act as intermediary in keeping the groups in contact with each other. Mr. Satz offered congratulations on reinstituting the chapter. A brief discussion from the floor followed. Ms. Mueller announced that the chapter had received an invitation to meet at Smith College. A motion was made, seconded, and carried that Ms. Mueller be elected chairman of the chapter. Mr. Boonen suggested that a provisional list of members be drawn up. It was announced that the mid-winter meeting of MLA would be held at Yale University, January 30th, 31st, and February 1st. Mr. Shepard said that he hoped the New England chapter would be able to host one of the coffee hours. The meeting was adjourned at 3:15 p.m. A coffee hour and tour of the building followed. Respectfully submitted, Doreen L. Smith, Secretary.